Well, good day everyone. So I just want to quickly go over the gloves that I use when I'm riding bikes. And this is a kind of a small sample of the gloves that I have. So the frank matter of it is with gloves on riding bikes is there's no glove that's going to do everything for you. If you have to pick some do-it-all gloves, there are a few that are out there and I'll kind of cover that. But you know, nothing's going to work because we ride in lots of different conditions all the time. If I lived in San Diego, California, and you know, which is pretty much consistent all year long with the temperatures, then I really would only need one glove, maybe two, but that's it. You know, but where I live, you know, there's a lot of different things I do on my bike, and I ride in snow and I ride in the summer, and so we've got to have different gloves. So let me cover the ones that I don't use a lot but are really valuable to have and that are really accessible for just about everybody. So that's going to be these three gloves here, which are just your basic Msr Nxt Gloves, a pair of leather gloves, and what's called the Decade G-Pack gloves. So the G-Pack Decade gloves are the first gloves I owned, recommended to me by Everride, and along with everybody else out there. And they're a good glove, but they're only 15 bucks. They're really cheap, and they're really easy to, you know, to size into. They just use standard sizing. And they're really quite good. They work well down to about 50 degrees, up to about 80 degrees, 90 degrees, and they get some good protection, and they're nothing fancy, but they'll work well. The drawbacks of the G-Pack gloves that I found was they do kind of disintegrate on you over time. They're durable gloves, certainly, but they do disintegrate as you use them as a work glove. As you can see here on the palms, I've got some degradation here, and these are fairly new ones. This is my second or third pair. And they do degrade over time because of this cloth or pleather or whatever it is on the front here. And these are not true leather, but they are semi-ventilated with this gray material on the back. But they fit good and they work well. The challenge is if you're going to use them long-term or long distance, I've had problems with these. And the problem I've had is, you can see this glove actually lays flat. And what that does is that creates a pressure zone right here in the crook, if you want to call it that, of between your elbow and your index finger. So there, and even in some of the other parts of your hand, you may find a pressure point there, and so pinching that can be pretty painful. So I actually used these to ride down to Moab once, and about halfway there they wound up being pretty painful, and I wound up just taking them off, which of course is a bad idea, but you know, because I had no protection at that point, but it was more comfortable than the pressure point on my hand. So just keep that in mind with those, and I think that's a very subjective thing, something everybody's going to have to decide for themselves, but I have a hard time with those just from that standpoint of the pressure points. Your standard work gloves and Msr Nxt gloves, I use these when I'm doing trail maintenance. So there's several trails that I try to help maintain, and I'll wear these for riding as well as maintaining the trail, so I can pick up rocks and trees and shrubs and things like that and protect my hands. But I still have the ability to, you know, kind of protect my hands when I'm riding on the bike. These don't offer any kind of impact protection. There could be some people that argue that say that these thick deer hide gloves might, but at the end of the day, they really don't offer a ton of protection. But they're just a good basic glove. And the Msr Nxt gloves are great when it's warm, because they're fully ventilated, you know, on the backs, whereas the leather gloves might get a little too hot, and they also have a tendency to stain your hands with the tannic acid from those. Now let me get to the gloves that I use the most. So these three pair of gloves are by far my favorite gloves is for right now. There are some other gloves that I would consider, but this is what I'm using right now. So the Msr Nxt gloves, I got them purely as a stylistic reason was why I got them, but I really like riding with them. They ventilate really well. They're a lot cooler than my other gloves, but they give me a really nice response. So if you're riding in hot weather or riding technical terrain, these are fantastic. Not a lot of protection on these, in fact almost no protection on these, but they give you a good response and they've got a good grip with the controls. So I really like those, and they're cheap. They're, I think, $15 to $20. You can get these as cheap as $5 if you get them on good sales and things, and that, but they fit true to size. I wear a size large normally in gloves, and these are dead on to that. So the other two pair of gloves that I wear most of the other times is my Revit Sand 3 and the Revit Alaska gloves. So I just want to kind of cover these individually and give you an idea, a little bit more in depth, because these of course are a much bigger investment. So, you know, all the gloves we talked to now are less than, say, $20, $30. But the Revit Sand 3s can run anywhere from $100 to $150. But I really like them. They match my field shear jacket as well as my Revit jacket really well. And they're a goat skin palm. They have 3DO armor on the outside, on both the knuckles areas, as well as on the slide area there on the bottom part of the palm, and even on the thumb. They also have on them a pull strap. So the one drawback of these gloves is the way they fit. They don't really fit true to size. So Revit gloves tend to, for me at least, I have fairly large palms. So not all gloves fit the same way for other people. But at least for me, I find they fit a little bit small. So this Revit Sand 3, you've got a single Velcro closure. This strap here is great because it's a nice pull area to pull these gloves on, because you do need to pull them on. But once I got them on, they're really quite comfortable. And then I just secure them. And luckily it bunches really well around my watch, which I almost always have a watch on. And then I pull my jacket over the top of these, and they fit real well inside the jacket. So these are a great glove for that. They fit good. But out of the box they were quite tight, and they took a little bit of time to break in, but work well. The other thing that works really well on these is these do have the Pro Touch, or the phone ice cream touch. It's for phones and things like that, and the index finger as well as the thumb have that function to them, so you can use those with your phone without having to take your gloves off to use your phone. That's a great thing to have. It's really convenient. It's not very safe, but it's a good thing to have, and it works well. One thing to keep in mind with that is my left hand here, which is where I usually use this, is starting to not work. And I think this is because I've been using it heavily on my clutch. And so I've worn this, you know, you can compare these two fingers, and they've, you know, my left hand finger is definitely much more wore than my right. So I think that's really the contributing cause of that. I've also had these gloves wet several times, and when they get wet, they get a little stiff, but they work right back in, no problem at all, and they're really great. As far as temperatures go, I can ride these down to about 40 degrees. If I'm on the freeway, 50 degrees, and that's with my grip heaters on. If I don't have my grip heaters on, it's quite a bit warmer than that. So you can feel the grip heaters well through these, but you know, they're really a summer glove. They're really not designed for cold weather, but they do work well even down in the 40s and 50s. And they're great for everything from really technical terrain all the way up through freeway riding. So fantastic glove. That's the Revit Sand 3. Now the Revit Alaska is another glove that fits quite snug, and it is a gauntlet style glove, and these fit quite snug. Now I've had these now for just a couple months, and they are still quite tight. They haven't broken nearly as quickly as my Sand 3s did, but they're a good glove, good quality, and they feel really good, and they're quite warm. These, you're probably good down to freezing, maybe a little bit colder than that, so probably in the Fahrenheit scale about 20 degrees or so. If you're on the freeway, they're still too cold at 20. You really need to be up in about 35 or so if you're up on the freeway, because they're just not that warm of a glove. If you plan on trying to use a glove like this in the wintertime, either an over glove or a liner would probably make a big difference. Also, not sizing to exact fit. I like to have a glove that's tight, that's snug on my hands, and so I can have good response on my controls. If you don't care about that, then I would say go much bigger, go maybe 2 sizes big, a double or a triple or a quadruple XL, and then have the ability to be able to put some wicking liners inside. And that would make these quite a bit warmer and work well. These are fully waterproof. They're Gore-Tex, so they work well in rain, snow, sleet, whatever it might be, and they work fantastically with that. I've never been wet in these through several storms. The other thing that these gloves have that is really nice is it has this kind of squeegee across the left index finger for wiping your shield or your goggles, and it works really well for cleaning the water and sleet and whatever else off your screen, off your visor or off of your goggles. So that's a nice feature to have. And these are going to have 2 Velcro closures, one here on the wrist, and so one here on the wrist, and they're going to have one on this gauntlet here towards the back. And so you can get them to wrap up around your jacket quite well. And they are small enough or enough of a Velcro closure you could probably get them underneath most jackets. But these are designed as a gauntlet gloves. So these also have the 3DO armor both on the knuckles as well as on the palm here with actually a plastic slider, a little bit of a premium option there. And I've been really impressed with these so far. So great glove. However, keep in mind that these are going to be quite small. Now, if you're going to be riding in really cold weather, something I haven't got out today is you can go to like heated gloves, or you can go to, say, a snowmobile glove. So I have some Burton, they're actually snowboarding gloves that I'll use. I also have some Scott gloves that are quite good that I'll use. And then I'm actually in the process of purchasing right now a pair of Climb Power Cross gloves, which are a good snowboarding glove or snowmobiling glove that will work well with what I like to do. So I'm going to pick up a pair of those, and that should be a much warmer glove for really cold climates. And of course there's tons of those out there that are even colder, but I have a tendency to work pretty hard when I'm on my bikes in the wintertime, so warmth is usually not an issue on my hands. I also have grip heaters that help make up for some of the coldness. So if you don't have grip heaters, you may want to consider a warmer glove as well. So I hope that is helpful. Those are the gloves that I'd recommend. Feel free to use the links down below in the description if you're looking to purchase any one of these. We do get a little bit of kickback if you decide to use that link. And if you have any questions, or especially any comments or recommendations on some gloves for other people that might be here on the channel, we'd love to hear those. Thank you so much, and you guys have a great day.